So welcome to your own studio.
Yeah, okay, we started. Good, right, and go.
Yeah, pretty much. Just jump straight in. It's just a very, very casual podcast. But yes, thanks very much for having me in your studio.
Oh, pleasure.
So we're flipping it around.
Yeah.
Wanted to chat to you a lot about your business, about your personal life, and that sort of thing as well. But yeah, just wanted to dive straight in. How did you come to be here?
Yeah, good question. Well, I've been doing this for 20 years.
Yep.
And so it started out, and this is probably my advice to anyone in business is don't let your hobby and your passion be your business. That can be really dangerous. So, but for me, I wanted to be an actor, then discovered that I fell in love with being behind the camera. I think the control factor in me didn't like the idea of that I had to do other people's scripts and things. And so the idea of being a filmmaker or being a director or a producer enlightened me into this idea of that I can make more films and I can do more stuff. So I moved from being an actor to being behind the camera. So when I started the company, I started literally in my bedroom and then very quickly grew out of that into what I call those in suburbs where you've got like the hairdresser, the accountant, the plumber, and there's sort of these long suburban shop. We moved into that space there, and it was our first official kind of office.
Yep.
It was a piece of junk, but we sort of set it all up. We
got to start somewhere.
Yeah, got to start somewhere.
Yep.
And then after a while, I merged my business with someone else, and we were going to try and make films. And so we merged our business. They came in, that was a real big shift. So that's when I used to be called Orsino Media. And I moved out of Greensboro into Richmond.
Yeah.
And the business partner basically said, look, we've got to get out of Greensboro because it makes you look like you're a small video production company. And we wanted to sort of take on bigger clients. We wanted to be a bit more official looking.
Yep.
And Richmond was a bit more of a sort of funky creative space. So moved into there. We couldn't afford polishing. We wanted to polish the concrete, couldn't afford it, so we did it DIY.
Yeah, right.
So my business partner and I are literally going back and forth with this grinder and all that kind of stuff. And the place is filling up with smoke and dust. And then we're seeing all these people outside watching us. And we're like, oh, this is nice. Like, here's all these interested people are just coming to say hello. And then the 2 fire trucks rocked up. And it turned out that although we asked the body corporate to isolate our smoke alarm, we weren't very liked by the neighbors at that point because all of them from all the way upstairs in the building had to go all the way down the stairs come out. And apparently, unbeknownst to us, a week prior, they were also had because someone burnt their toast or something.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, so that was it. But we got the place looking nice. And then that went really well. Then global financial crisis happened.
Oh, fun.
And then I was like, what do I do? And the business partner, he exited the business. So I had to manage that. And then I then moved out of Richmond into Bayswater when I merged with another business partner. So and that was the formation of Indimax Productions, which is what I am now. A very long-winded answer to your question, but moved into Bayswater. We were there for another 5 years, and then my business partner exited because he wanted to move to America. So he moved his whole family to America, and we sort of helped support that move in terms of and he was able to get an O1 visa through sort of the work that we were doing.
Yep.
And then the lease expired in Bayswater, and the landlord was desperate to get me sign another 5-year lease. And so I was like, I don't want to be in Bayswater. I don't know why I'm in Bayswater anymore. And then we decided we wanted to be in the city. So this was just before COVID.
Yep.
We found this place, and it was a lot bigger than what we had wanted, but the rent was a little bit competitive because we were taking over someone else who had broken the lease.
Right.
So we came to this place. It was literally a factory. So it was some offices and an empty warehouse.
Yeah.
And so we moved in here. I got a fit out loan from the bank. We built this place up, and I literally had to learn how to do everything: plastering, painting, flooring, all of it. And it took quite a few years to kind of get it to the stage that it's at now. Still not entirely finished. Like, we're still building a cinema downstairs and a few other bits and pieces. And then obviously COVID happened. We had to survive through COVID. Post-COVID, I had a lot of employee issues, so I had to survive bad employees. And then now I'm here today, and that answers your question. So essentially, we've been here for about 5 years, and we've sort of recently done a bit of a pivot. Video production since I started 20 years ago has changed a lot over 20 years. And recently it's changed again with this idea of, the future of AI, the kind of content that people are wanting.
Movies with it now.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Like, you can do, and the future is going to be AI, and how we adapt to that will be very important.
Yeah.
But in the same way, how we adapted from VHS tape to DVD. I mean, my business started when we were still doing VHS tapes. So there are somewhere in the box somewhere, I've got VHS tapes with the client's name still on it that we would have supplied to them. And then DVDs, and then from SD to HD, then HD to online.
Yeah.
So it's always been a business that's really impacted by technology.
Sure. But is this a jumping off point heading into the AI sphere? We're sort of getting to the point where anyone that's watched a Terminator, it's like becoming not self-aware, but like it's serious stuff now. They're able to create images out of nothing.
Yeah. And look, I think it's still not quite right, and it's still a bit of a buyer beware at the moment. Yeah, I mean, you can still tell.
It's getting close.
That's it. It's getting very close, and if it's getting close now, it's going to be a lot closer.
My grandparents were being fooled by stuff. Yeah. Like that's the level that we're at. A lot of people are being like, oh yes, my grandparents shared this video because XYZ, but it's clearly AI to us.
Yeah.
But it's fooling some people.
Oh,
already.
Absolutely. And look, from a business point of view, I'm not that concerned about AI in the sense that when Google came out and everyone could do analytics and AdWords, there's still companies today that do SEO and AdWords for people, because you get to a point where you go, I don't want to be an expert in AI. I want to partner with a production company that knows some techniques and knows how to do that for me.
Yep.
It is going to it does mean that jobs are going to be at risk. You're going to I'm reading a book at the moment called The Company of One, or Company of One.
Right.
And it's all this idea that a lot of people are now moving to a situation where they're like not just growing for the sake of growth, that this idea of you can now run a successful company as just one person, that you can outsource stuff, you can, drop shipping is big now. There's a whole lot of areas. And I think there'll be a lot of businesses that still partner with a film production or a video production company, but we're using AI to support what we do.
Yeah.
And so I think there's going to be a lot of learning that I have to do as part of that. But I'm also noticing gone are the day, like 10 years ago, you'd make one really good video for a company, and that's what you'd make. And they'd spend anywhere from $5,000 to $500,000. And depending on the scope and the type of style and all that sort of stuff, but you'd do maybe a campaign, or you'd do a series of videos you'd do a video for $50,000, and that was it. And then you give it to the company, and they'd hope that would last for 3 years. And the sales pitch for me was how I make a video would mean that my videos would last longer than someone else's, because I'd make it cinematic, I'd make it story crafted, I'd make it dynamic and interesting and timeless.
Yeah.
Now it's about more content every single day, every single week. TikTok has changed the way we even approach video. The way I structure video, you can't start.
It has changed so much, because I was watching my brother the other day when I snuck up to Queensland. I was catching up with him, and he's scrolling through, and he gives it half a second at most before he swipes on. And I've gone, how do you know that wasn't a really good video?
Yeah.
And he goes, I just know.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was funny. I've got the attention span that's a little bit longer, but you've given it, it's gone.
Oh, and the way we approach video production now is exactly that. We're thinking, how do we grab people? How do we, people are even giving away the hook. It used to be surprise and delay. Now it's like, give me the hook right up front, and then work backwards. How do we get to that hook?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of that stuff that's coming out of, TV, film TV. It's all been kind of adjusted, adapted, changing. TikTok changes stuff. So, and it's one thing that I kind of have to kind of become okay with. I grew up in a world where, everyone wanted to be Steven Spielberg. You wanted to make a film on film.
Yeah.
You wanted to have the premiere. You wanted to release it in cinemas. Then eventually it would end up on TV, and then on home entertainment, and, all that sort of thing. Now it's pretty much like, well, as a filmmaker, am I going to become a YouTuber? am I going to become a digital content creator? I mean, you don't even necessarily call yourself a filmmaker anymore. You kind of say, well, I'm a content creator, or I'm I still call myself a filmmaker, but essentially,
you're not using film anymore.
No, not using film anymore. And I kind of think for a while there was this romantic thing of, I'd still love to do film on film, but now I've given up on that. I've given up on the idea that my stuff will go into cinemas, because maybe it won't. Maybe it's better to be distributed. I mean, I'm watching more content on my iPhone.
Yeah.
I mean, I consume a lot of content, and I consume a lot of it on that.
Yeah, right.
And, and I'm not a purist. I mean, sometimes if I'm with my wife, I'll watch on a TV. If we decide we want to go to if it's more of an event occasion, we might go see a big film at the cinema.
Yeah.
But, that's expensive now for people, and our home entertainment setup is pretty cool. Or, I'm building a cinema downstairs, so I'll probably just, invite people over and say, hey, let's
count me in, 100%. It's interesting that you talk about people's consuming of content is different. My brother, again, I go to my brother because he's like my eyes into the young people, because, 25, I'm an old man now in the digital world. He went to a cinema the other day to watch, I think it was Superman again, or The Naked Gun or something like that. And he sent me a Snapchat. The whole cinema was empty. It was just him. And he's gone, this is amazing. And I've gone, why is there no one else there? He goes, and the best part is he's like $10 tickets. I've gone, so $10 tickets, there's still no one in there. Like, that's just so, and I mean, I guess now we use a TV at home. Yep. But it's a smart TV. It does Netflix, it does Disney Plus, it does all the streaming services. We don't use it for live TV. We use it for the footy. Yeah. But that's through KO. That's another streaming platform. Like, it's not, you get home from work and you turn the TV on and it's just there in the background. The news is on, and then it's something else that you find interesting. It's totally different. It's on demand, and not everyone's using the TV for it anymore. You're right. People are on their phones.
Oh, look, it's fascinating we're in this golden age of television now, where I'm watching more TV than I'm watching movies, but every now and then I'll be in the mood for just a 90-minute story, and there are kids just watching. I mean, as we know, there's kids watching gamers just for 5 hours straight of it's incredible. It's kind of exciting in a sense, but look, the independent film industry has been decimated by the changes in technology and the changes in stuff. I mean, even just look at piracy. So piracy was huge when people didn't want to go to the cinemas, and DVDs were like home entertainment was, it was huge. Like I've produced 2 films, and I'm proud to say that the first film I produced, which was a sci-fi, we sold it to Germany first, and then it was pirated. So by the time we tried to sell it to Japan, the distributor looked on and said, I'm not going to pay you as much because it's already pirated. And there's part of me that's like going, cool. Like,
because someone wanted to pirate
stuff. But in the same sense, you're like, that's actually really hard, because it meant that we lost money, and we're an independent, none of us got sort of paid essentially in the way that Hollywood got paid. But piracy was rife, and people were BitTorrenting, and then suddenly piracy dropped. Like everyone was really worried about piracy. Suddenly it dropped because Netflix came out. Yeah. And so giving people, because a lot of people said the only reason people pirate is because they can't get access to something. Yep. They want to see something, they want it when they want it, how they want it, on what platform they want it, da-da-da.
Yeah, they missed it at the movies. They don't want to wait for DVD release.
Yeah, so Netflix came along, scooped up all these old movies, or all these movies that people wanted to watch, and so piracy dropped, because people thought, well, for $9 or $9.99 or $10 a month, I don't feel the need to pirate anymore. Yeah. But then suddenly all the subscription services came out. So then it became this thing of, well, you got to have Netflix. So to get what you want, and if you're a sci-fi fan, well, Star Trek is now on 3 different streaming platforms, depending on which show you want to watch, but not all of them. Yep. So suddenly you go, okay, well, now I have to have Netflix, Disney, Paramount, Amazon, Binge, HBO, etc. And so suddenly piracy got so spiked again, because everyone said, nah, screw it. I'll keep one of them. I might keep Netflix because it's, I'm happy to, I feel like I want to keep one. And people have always been prepared to pay money. So when they did a lot of work on the piracy stuff, like what made a pirate, it was a thing. If they're happy to pay something, there was even a test that they did. So one independent film company actually started reaching out and said, hey, would you actually give us if we gave you a way to donate back to us? And so some of the pirates said, yeah, here's $1. We'll pay $1 for your film, but we're not going to pay $20 or $50 to go watch the DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, unless you're an enthusiast. And so, so piracy sort of dropped off for a while, and now it's skyrocketing again because
subscriptions.
Because it's a thing about access.
You've
People
got every
want stuff.
Platform. It's like $150 a month. It's ridiculous.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
And Netflix has ads.
Yeah, and now it's all getting it's sort of changing again because they've realized that it used to be that sponsor money. It was the idea that the streaming services got their money and they got enough people and that funded the shows and created the revenue. So we've seen a shift there as well. So it's hard as a filmmaker to be constantly trying to understand what the business model is and how to find the money, get the money. Being in Australia, it's very sophisticated because you've got subsidy dollars, you've got refunds, tax grants, you've got all this sort of stuff going on, and not a lot of people understand where the money comes, how the money comes, how the market works, and the market that works today is not the same as the market tomorrow. So everyone is now. In the past, a German distributor might buy my film for $50,000. Yeah. And that was a reasonable fee so I could kind of fund my film or find the revenue for my film going to all the different territories. Now they want to acquire 10 films for $50,000. So I'm only getting $5,000 for the thing that I would have. And that's because, again, they're struggling to get a return on investment and it's all being destroyed. And we kind of get what we want because the only people that are going, we're all going to the movies to see the big blockbusters. Yeah. So the studios are making bank. Marvel films. Yeah. Why are they making so many Marvel films? Well, because we keep going and paying for that. Money. We're not going and paying to see an independent film. So they're like, well, why would we fund that? So it is your kind of thing of the audiences dictate what they want. And everyone sort of says they're sick of Marvel films or DC films, but they keep going. Yeah. And so the studios who know the numbers and know the data go, well, we're just going to keep making for people what makes bank.
So how do you think that ends?
Oh, good question. Look, there's always money for storytellers. Like it's the same thing of art. Like there's always going to be something. I think that entertainment, that's the thing. What we discovered during COVID was that people consume entertainment. They want to be entertained, whether that's books, music, events, theater, film, TV. Yep. We've got to have something. Yep. So it's a lot harder to, I think I would say any young filmmakers growing up now, I'd say think about your audience. Build your own audience because you can leverage off that. And we've seen that with TikTok influencers, whatever. Yeah. They build an audience. They say, I've got 1 million people following me now. They like what I like. They do what I say.
I'm going to go do this.
So therefore, then they can go to a brand and say, give me money because brands want to get they want to get eyeballs. Yeah, yeah. So in the past where TV companies would do the same or there would be like these gatekeepers, a lot of the gatekeepers are being destroyed now. So as a sense, like you can take your iPhone, you can go make a film, you can release it on YouTube. You may not make any money from it, or you may go crowdfunding. But the thing is, you can. In the past, to access 35mm film, to access the people who knew what they were doing,
barrier of entry
was a barrier of entry. Yeah, yeah. So now, the interesting business model was we're going to see a lot more. My prediction is we're going to see a lot more wedding video makers or wedding video people become filmmakers of the future. They're going to cut their teeth on weddings or they're going to cut their teeth on TikTok and they're going to use that as a pathway into film, TV, entertainment. So in the same way that we've seen, Hollywood ran out of original ideas, so then they started mining books. When they ran out of books, they started mining games. When they ran out of games, they started mining, digital content and online and influencers and social media and all that kind of stuff. And so we're going to see the same, that people are going to continue to kind of mine, or comic books was one that I missed, but all that sort of stuff. So I think the filmmakers of tomorrow will be people who they've got a YouTube channel, they've got a whole lot of things. The broadcasters approached Mr. Beast and said, hey, can we, before he did the Amazon show that he partnered with, for years they were flirting with him or courting him and saying, hey, come to TV. And he said, why? Your
don't need you.
audience is small.
Yeah.
I don't want 1 million views. I've got 100 million
that
views.
in 15 minutes.
So why would I talk to you?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the world we're seeing is and in Australia has its own. I mean, there was these two brothers called the Raka or
the
whatever.
Raka twins.
And they probably tried to go to film school, or they tried to get money the traditional ways.
Yep.
Probably were told no, or that they didn't meet the criteria. So they probably went, like many frustrated filmmakers, screw you, I'll do it my own way.
Yep.
I haven't spoken, I've never met them personally, so I don't know if this is, but my observation is they then started a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
They made a whole lot of crazy stuff and they got an audience, and then they leveraged that up to then get funding to make a film. And then that did really well. They proved that they could. And then we're going to see more and more of that. So once you prove something in that kind of space, people will then say, hey, we'll give you some money to do it and to expand their audience.
So further to this sort of topic, independent filmmakers, does this direction signify the end of the local cinema? Or is the local cinema already dead, in your opinion?
Oh, look, I think they're going to struggle. Look, they're pivoting. I mean, because it's, again, you've got a huge venue with huge space. They're trying different things. I mean, and when I did my master's program with Afters, we presented a whole lot of case studies. We said, why don't you have flexible pricing? Why is the same price to see a big Hollywood film the same price to see an Australian classic? We suggested this idea of it's not that difficult to change pricing, to go, oh, this film has been out for 10 weeks. It costs $1.
Yeah.
Well, I've got nothing to do. I'll watch that film for $1. This Marvel film, it's premium. It's $50, but you'll get this great experience.
Yeah.
We'll give you a keep cup. We'll give you, I don't know, something, right?
Yeah.
Then they've started to look into events, like creating events, like if you can't afford the $300 ticket to see Madonna or see, Kylie Minogue, or showing my age, or see who's someone that they would see these days.
Luke Combs?
Someone, right? Because I'm not sure if you pay $300 to see Madonna anymore, maybe. But anyway, we'll use that as an example.
Yep.
So everyone knows Madonna.
Yeah.
So you pay $300, $400, $500 to see, that. Then now, but if you don't want to spend that, you might want to have the crowd experience seeing it in a big screen for $50 at your local cinema. Yeah. So I think independent cinema chains are dead. Like, I think you're going to have the Village and Hoyts. Like, the others are really struggling. There's very few of them anymore. They've either been bought out by Palace or the various different the remaining smaller independents. Yeah. But I think cinemas will probably pivot. I don't think we'll see. I mean, we're just going to see big blockbusters, and people are going to be selective. They're going to go, why would I go see an art house film at a cinema when I can watch that at home with a glass of wine, et cetera, et cetera.
The wine's cheaper. So
you might do that. Whereas you might be happy to go see the next big blockbuster, kind of like, and a big, huge action film or whatever. 3D certainly died that was a gimmick that, lasted for a little bit. Yep. So, and I think cinemas killed 3D by making everything 3D, like films that didn't need to be 3D were made 3D. So it became a gimmick, and then the glasses thing is annoying.
They were never comfortable.
And you often find that 5 minutes into the film, once you've had the initial wow, you're like, the rest of it's about story. And so that what was happening is they were making, I think they rushed, from memory, Johnny Depp was in the film. It was like the sequel to I'm always bad with these names. The sequel to Alice in Wonderland. Yeah. And so they made that 3D. Yeah, yeah. And the thing was, the film wasn't really that good. And so therefore, but it was 3D. So then people went, well, I'm turned off 3D now. And so when other films like Avatar that came out that were really big, that were shot specifically for 3D.
Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess the point is that it comes down to story. Yeah, 100%. And even TikTok, it comes down to story. I've got 6 seconds to grab you. Well, how am I going to grab you?
And this is the thing, because I've noticed that the longer form content online, like your podcasts and even TikTok, had to make a template for a 10-minute video because some people were actually watching the full 10 minutes.
Yep.
I thought this was the, really short attention span app. and I'm here for a 10-minute doco, but I've watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know why in the delivery of, 6 seconds, 15 seconds, all that jazz, then all of a sudden a 10-minute grab from a Titanic documentary just holds me.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, it's 10 minutes have passed. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that just happened. I don't know what it is, but it's just...
Oh, I find the same. I mean, I'll see like a really badly done sort of cut down of a film.
Yeah.
And it'll spark me and go, oh, I want to watch that film.
That
or going,
movie
oh
is
yeah,
so
I've forgotten that film. I've forgotten that part of that film. Yeah, actually, I'm going to go watch it.
Yeah.
And that I mean, so I've just recently consumed The Day of the Jackal.
Yeah.
So excellent TV show.
movie.
Amazing TV show.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. So the remake with and again, I'm terrible with names, but remake, excellent production. Well, it came out years ago and I'd forgotten about it. There'd been something else and never got around to watching it. Well, on TikTok one day, I saw this little scene of him with like the Steadicam. So there's a moment where he's on a boat with a Steadicam gun. And so any filmmaker would go, oh, that's kind of cool. He's got a Steadicam with a gun on it to try and balance himself on a boat. And it makes a lot of sense. Probably practically, a military expert would say, we'd never do that. But for me as a filmmaker, that was kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, and I went, oh, I should watch that show. And so
I forgot about it.
I found it on the streaming platform and went and watched all 10 episodes.
Which one was it on?
I can't remember now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like which you got to keep track of all these different shows that are coming out, and this one's got a new season over here.
Peacock.
Yeah.
It was so it would be is Peacock Paramount? Yeah, Paramount.
I don't know, probably.
Yeah.
But like you've got to keep track of because one of the what's his name, Taylor Sheridan, the guy who does Yellowstone.
Yep.
So he's got all these different shows that are on all these different platforms, and so when the new season comes out of each one, you've got to jump your subscription, take that off Netflix and put it over on Paramount to watch that. You get through all of that, and then it's that other show that we were watching a while back. You've got to go back to that one and jump over to that platform.
Yeah.
So it's gymnastics, financial gymnastics.
Yeah.
You got to watch all these subscriptions really closely. But jumping back to cinemas,
Yep.
something that I really liked that I noticed, not recently, probably about a year ago, but they were doing like relaunches of old movies on their 20th, 30th anniversaries.
Yep.
So they got it like the Star Wars. When they came out, it's like their 25th anniversary of episode 1. So we're putting it back into cinemas for a run. And so everyone got the opportunity because, I was very little to actually go watch Star Wars in the cinema and, do the lightsaber thing and everything else.
Yeah.
And there was so many cosplayers there. I didn't rock up in cosplay. But it was like cool to go experience it in the cinema. So I like that.
Yeah.
I feel like there's always going to be that. And I remember after COVID, a lot of the actors were pushing really hard for people to go back and see a movie in cinemas now that we can again.
I think it's got to be, the cinemas have got to be curated better. I mean, that really cinema owners really didn't respect the business, in my opinion. I mean, and again, I'm making very big, wild observations, but they didn't really. There wasn't that sort of cinema file to like they kind of just went, here's the expensive popcorn, here's this, you had 15-year-old kids were because they employed cheap people to do it. They wouldn't think about posters and design and all that sort of stuff. And so you would end up going, like when it was cool. But then as it evolved, they didn't really evolve with it.
It became a commodity.
It became a commodity. And it's like they didn't really care about, because if they cared, they'd be thinking, actually, it's the anniversary. Let's do specials. Let's do anniversary. Let's do all the Alien films back to back. Or let's do this. Or let's do that. And encourage people to come back and experience it.
If they lined up every Alien movie on like a Friday night, bang, 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 I'd be there every week.
Yeah. I mean, they did a few things. Like I think they tried to do things like mums and bubs sessions and mums with babies could come. And they're clever ideas. But they needed to kind of keep evolving it, and I think that was the pricing point is something they could have looked at. The other thing is there's been a number of times where independents have tried to book cinemas, and the way their booking system works is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So they would charge you like $3,000 to book out the cinema on a Tuesday night, or Wednesday afternoon, and you'd be like, well, how many seats of that 100-seat cinema? So they'd force you to buy every seat, even the really bad ones, knowing that there's that right at the front, no one wants that seat. But if you didn't come along, they'd be showing some other film and there'd be 0 or 1 person sitting in there. And you'd be saying to them, guys, can't we negotiate? Like, I'm not if I want a Friday night, I'll pay $3,000 or $5,000.
Yeah,
I'll pay premium
because it's a premium slot.
Yeah, but I
It's a
want to
Tuesday
do.
night.
I want to do a. I want to stream. I want to show a documentary film that's been produced locally. I want to invite friends and family. I want to sell tickets for $10 to cover my cost to you. And hey, would you let me have it for $500? Knowing that if you've got wine and pies and popcorn and whatnot, that
People
they could buy it there. So again, why not do that? They didn't. They wouldn't. So it's like, well, I kind of, and audiences, like, that's the thing about business. People choose with their feet. If they don't like an experience or they find something better, they're sitting at home going, I've got a really big screen TV. I don't have to deal with all the other idiots at the cinema if there's people talking or whatever they have a grudge against.
Yep.
And so they go, well, and I don't have to go out. I don't have to park. I don't have to pay because, it became very expensive date night, right?
Yep.
It became, you'd end up spending $80 or $90 and go, this is really expensive and it's just 2 hours of entertainment. People thought, well, what else could you do with that money? So, yeah. So anyway, it's unfortunate because...
But it is what it is.
Yeah. There's nothing better than seeing something in a cinema, but...
Oh, it's a great experience.
It's a great experience.
Unless someone's talking.
Yeah.
I went out to a cinema. I go with the same group of friends. And there's always one guy who just has to get his thoughts out on every scene. And he leans over and he talks to everyone in the row about, oh, yes, this is why they did that. Ha, ha, ha. And it's just like, I want to lean over and just... Yeah. But I don't.
Yeah.
I'm just like, roll my eyes... Focus on the film. Shut up, please.
Yep.
But, he does his thing. That's cool. It's cool.
Yep.
It's those people that drive people away from the cinema. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'll blame it all on him.
Well, I have distinct memories of I might have been 15, watching Independence Day in a full cinema.
Great movie.
Where you had to pick, you had to be organized because if you didn't pick your session and time, and there was like 10 of us that went and the cinema was full.
Yeah.
Seeing a movie with complete strangers and I remember when the end of the film and they show that one of the alien spaceships crashed over the Sydney Harbour Bridge, the whole audience just cheered. And again, I remember that. I'm like going, it made it better than just sitting in my bedroom going,
that's Sydney.
That's it. That's the ending. So, there is something about that. Zoolander is far better watched with a crowd and probably a few drinks in than it is sober and by yourself. Like, it's not funny when you don't watch it, with other people.
People think, people want to have that, especially with comedy. They want to have a collaborative experience and enjoy other people enjoying the film as well.
Yeah.
It's part of the experience. Really interesting. So let's jump back to you. We've talked about movies and all that sort of stuff. What drives you to want to create content? Obviously, you've created movies previously. I'm assuming you're going to try and do it again. You're going to do it again. It's just going to be something that you do forever. What drives you to do that?
Yeah, good question. I think essentially I have a worldview and I have, I talk about this kind of concept called, cinematic parables or transformational entertainment.
Yeah.
And what that means for me is that I've seen some films that have really impacted me and challenged me. So I remember bawling my eyes out watching Hotel Rwanda, which basically told the story, sort of based on a true story of again, I'm terrible with details because it's while the Hutsis and the two different kind of people in Rwanda, and they were getting killed and murdered. And I just remember sitting there being really angry about, like, where was I when this was going on? Like, why didn't more people do something about this? How did this happen? I was alive when this happened. Like, it wasn't like World War II that was before my time. It was something that I'm like, wow, this is actually really impacted me. And there's been other documentaries, other films, other stories, TV shows that have done similar. So not that I only want to make that kind of true story or powerful stuff, but I believe that cinema has a capacity, or stories have a capacity to change you and shift you.
100%.
And so that's where I don't want to just make entertainment for entertainment's sake. As much as it's fun. And there are times, don't get me wrong, I just love kicking back and watching a good sci-fi or good, spaceship battle or drama or action. Yeah. It's fun.
Or Zoolander.
But if I died tomorrow, I'd kind of want to go, right, if anyone saw any of my films, how would that impact them? Would that change their thinking? And again, one film that really impacted me that's impacted many people is the Christmas film A Life. Oh my gosh, so I'm doing this terrible. I was going to say A Life to Remember, but
I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, it's that one.
Hang on, I can pull out my phone and Google this.
You know, and it starts out with God and two angels.
It's my podcast, believe
A
me.
Wonderful Life.
Oh.
A Wonderful Life. Yeah,
It's a Wonderful
that's
Life.
one. It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah, It's a Wonderful Life.
Great movie.
A filmmaker who's terrible at recalling names and things. Anyway, so It's a Wonderful Life, black and white film.
Yeah.
I remember watching that going, what an incredible story and a powerful film. So I guess for me, my legacy, and you know, I've grown up as a Christian, and I believe in you know that I've been created by God, and totally okay that not everyone agrees with that, and whatever. Like I'm not so overt in my faith that I feel like I've got to proselytize to people. But as a Christian, I like to think that I'm a practical Christian. You know, treat others as you want to be treated, all this kind of stuff.
Live and let live.
So yeah, live and let live.
We were talking about it before.
Yeah, and I love this kind of concept of going. My faith gives me hope. Gives me hope for a better future. It gives me hope for life after death. All of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And so therefore, if I had a legacy, it would be, how do I tell stories that cause people to discuss faith, question faith, think about faith? It doesn't have to be every film that I make, because I want to make a whole bunch of different stories. But I sort of think that's what drives me, is this idea of, how can I tell stories that actually show a positive world, right? And in the current kind of state of Victoria, where it all feels like it's a bit doom and gloom, and there's
the world even,
in the world even, I kind of think now's the time to be going, you know what? There are incredible stories that can be told that make us realize that, in general, most people are good people, and they're trying to do good things. And so therefore, how do we encourage that? How do we build faith and joy and love and trust and hope? And that's kind of, if that could be my legacy, that would be the best.
Awesome. The latest Superman movie, someone was commenting online that the color palette is a lot brighter, and the whole message around it is a lot more hopeful than, you know, obviously we've had Henry Cavill as Superman, and it's been super, oh yes, I'm internally conflicted, I may be the bad Superman, who knows, blah, 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 all that stuff. And it's like, this one's like fully, you know, saving cats from trees Superman, and it's a lot more hopeful. So it's sort of like, hopefully there's a cultural change coming in the movie making space.
Yeah, well, the argument usually is that society does the opposite. So when things are really good, we like movies that are bad. And when things are really bad, we all just want to we want to escape to a world that feels good. So there you go. So therefore, you know, hopefully, you know, filmmakers, and look, there's been a lot of studies, and
you should be making bad films.
Yeah. There's a lot of study that supports this idea that if you, that you'll make more money. And there's a guy called Ted Baer who runs the Movie Guide in LA. Not everyone likes his stuff. I think he's a really great guy. And he basically he provides these statistics to all the studios, and they review every single film that comes out of the studio system. Wow. And his whole position is that films that meet certain criteria will outperform others that have a more evil, twisted, dark kind of stuff. So if your film shows a lot of, you know, sexual gratuity or sexual violence or whatever, it won't do as well as a film that has family values. Yeah. And so, you know, a lot of people will come up with for instance, there'll always be an exception to the rule. They'll go, oh, but what about this? Go, yeah, that's true. But in general, if you play by the numbers, if you make films that have a certain positive family values, positive worldview, good defeats evil, all that kind of stuff, you'll tend to outperform films that are the opposite. Yeah, right. And I think it's a general human nature. We want to follow people who do good, who are fighting justice, who are for fighting injustice. Yep. And, you know, and it's amazing, you know, even if you look at Jurassic Park, the original, is not a film about dinosaurs. I mean, it is, but it's actually a film about family.
And
you know,
the dinosaurs are just
They're just there.
Yeah,
They're there to sort of serve the plot and keep us intrigued.
And
But
to
it's a
scare the
story about
crap out of
family.
us.
You know,
Yeah.
it's about Sam Neill plays a guy who doesn't like kids, doesn't want kids, ends up being lumped with kids, and they have to form a family to survive.
Yep.
And that's and Spielberg's really good at that. Like E.T., same thing.
Oh yeah. 100%.
You know, all of that kind of stuff is what we actually. It's those subtexts that really pull us in and draw us in.
So, when you're developing a plot line for a movie, how do you write that in? Or do you start with the subtext? Do you start with the message that you're trying to send and then build the movie on top of it?
Oh, look, and this will be like everyone, there's books and how
Everyone else will do it
everyone has
differently.
their do it differently. But for me,
How do you do it?
yeah, good question. Well, so firstly, genre is very important to me.
course.
I don't like drama. I tend to like genre. And by genre, I mean, you know, action, adventure, sci-fi, fantasy, all that sort of thing. So I'll start there and I'll go, what do I want to make? Well, you know, currently I'm developing I'll tell you about a film that I'm developing. So I'm developing a film called The Nephilim. So the Nephilim is a weird word. And if those that understand it, well, there's this weird section in the Bible in Genesis where the Nephilim are this race of people. So these angels, the fallen angels, demons or fallen angels, start sleeping with women. Human women, and the outcome of that is these incredibly these heroes of old. They're sort of described as. So you know, when you look at Greek mythology and you know Zeus and Hercules and all this sort of stuff, it all sort of makes sense in my mind. So basically, these demons were sleeping with women. There was these superhumans being created,
Demigods.
and they were called the Nephilim. You know, and there's various different other religions have, or other people have got observations on this, but essentially they're called the Nephilim. In the latest film about Noah, they were the rock creatures, but that was that interpretation. But so there's these Nephilim, and I've always been fascinated because it's like literally just a verse in the Bible that mentions them, and then that's it. And then later they kind of talk about David faces Goliath, and Goliath was supposedly descended from a Nephilim, essentially. So anyway, so I had that as my source text, and I've always been fascinated by that little snippet in the Bible, and I've gone, wouldn't it be cool? So then you play the what if. Okay, so what if there was a Nephilim still alive today? So, I mean, the flood was a cause of, like, God basically sent the flood to wipe them out, to wipe mankind out and kind of deal with this thing. And the idea was that sort of stuff. And I don't want to necessarily dig into the historically, or if you say it, historically accurate Bible or the religious sense. I'm kind of taking up a kernel of an idea. So I want to make
But for context, the flood was the big reset button.
Yeah, it was a big reset button.
Because it was a fallen world, everyone was incredibly corrupt, and he just wanted to start it all over again.
Yeah. But what if a Nephilim survived, you know, and these angels, and so now I'm world building. So I've got this idea of, you know, okay, so I've got a supernatural thriller, or supernatural action thriller where there's a Nephilim, and he's alive today, and he's been alive for thousands of years. And he's like, if he took his shirt off, he's got gunshot wounds. He's been involved in every single battle.
Yeah.
He's basically a Nephilim has PTSD.
Yeah.
So he's basically living in this small seaside town, because I'm hoping to shoot this down in the Mornington Peninsula.
Nice.
So he's sort of basically he's a pizza delivery guy who just is checked out from the world. He's like, he's fought in World War II, World War III, World War II, World War I. He's
part of the movie.
Yeah,
World War
and
III.
he's been a Viking, he's been in everything, right? Because he's been around for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And he's long lived in the sense that he is not an angel, because he's half angel and he's half human. So he can die, but he's just very good at what he does.
Yeah.
And
Which
so
is not
anyway,
dying. Yeah.
that's the world that's a story that I'm trying to tell.
Awesome.
And then into that comes an angel that's protecting there's another Nephilim, a young girl who discovers a Nephilim, and there's this whole kind of, you know, end of time kind of narrative where there's a demon that's sick of Lucifer and he's basically trying to become the next Lucifer. And so I'm basically world building at this point.
Really?
So that's how I start. That's my thing of going, wouldn't it be cool if, what's an original idea? What's something that someone hasn't done before?
Yeah.
What am I inspired by? Well, what I'm inspired by is John Wick. John Wick just seems like an average action film.
Yeah.
Till you suddenly start to see, well, what are these gold coins? Who is this? There's this whole underground, this whole world
background.
and there's these rules. There's these hotels that you play by the rules and da-da-da. And so I thought, what what could I do with a Nephilim in that kind of sense? And
Yeah.
how would this kind of span out to being, could it be a sequel? And so you're always thinking about, these days particularly, when you come to market, you're thinking about world building because what pays dividends is world building. So, and I'll tell this example. Like imagine if there's you're in London, you pop into a cafe and you meet the author of Harry Potter who's struggling. No, everyone's rejecting her. No one's giving her any, and you had $50,000 in you went, you know what? Could I buy the Harry Potter world for $50,000? And she would have probably said yes at that point because she's a hungry writer. She would have gone, you know what? Let's do it. Well, imagine how wealthy you would be because now you have that world. And we've all heard the Marvel stories of, they sold off all their good assets and how do they build that? And it's all world building.
Yep.
So we're all interested in cinematic universes now because that's the thing that can spin off into
crossovers and everything else.
And sequels and spin-offs and all that kind of thing. So but my process is a little bit like that. But I could spend my entire life creating, I'd love to do a book of the kings, ancient Israel kings, but do it like a Game of Thrones world where it's like full on, politics and sex, love, lust, action, drama, politics, all that sort of wrapped up in an ancient kind of world in a context. And no one's done that yet. Be kind of, my kind of ambition at the moment is to brand myself as the director or filmmaker who can really handle biblical kind of concepts themes and that sort of thing. So that if Hollywood does come calling and gives me, the opportunity, they say, hey, here's $100 million, go make something. In terms of, I can go, oh yeah, I'll be known as that kind of guy.
I think if someone handed me $100 million, I wouldn't be known as anything. I'd just disappeared. And I'm out.
Yeah.
No. Interesting idea. And when you were talking about how the Nephilim has lived through all of these different eras, it just took me immediately to, I can't remember which Wolverine it was, but the intro scene of their one Wolverine movie where it's him and his brother fighting through like the Civil War and all that stuff because they've lived so long.
Yeah, well, that's
and
it.
It made me think about John Wick. The reason we're interested so much in the lore is because of what's not said.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just sort of hinted at.
Yeah.
And it's the same sort of thing. It was telling the story of him being, involved in all these wars and a veteran of so many different things. But it wasn't like, oh yes, he's doing this. It's the intro. It's if you're paying attention, you'll see it. But if you're not, you just assume.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, and look, and you die before you feel like there's so many films that I'll never probably get to make that are in my head, and some of them are horrible, right? Because you have to kill your babies, as the saying goes. You end up with these. Sounds really bad.
Really bad.
But it's the idea is you carry some ideas that are really precious to you when you're 7 or 17 or 27.
Yep.
And you end up going that either gets blurred into something else, or you end up going, nah, that idea is not working. And it's the same reason why you see a lot of people who, I'll use music as an example. You see these bands who suddenly get big and suddenly they churn out like 3 albums back to back.
Yeah.
And then after that, there's usually a long hiatus before their next stuff. And it's because they've basically spent 30 years or 20 years they've got all these kind of concepts and songs and ideas. They don't have the audience yet or the bandwidth, but once they suddenly get that, then and they've got the talent, they're like, oh, I've got this, I got this, I got this, I got this. So you can churn them all out.
Throw everything out.
So you see that a lot in artists is that they're struggling so long to try and get a platform. Once they've got a platform, they've got all this backlog of stuff that they can suddenly throw out. Or present. But yeah, but that's it. Anyway, I mean, a lot of that, and the funny thing is, a lot of that stuff isn't the day-to-day 9-to-5 stuff.
So what is the day-to-day 9-to-5?
Yeah, well, and look, you often sometimes think, is the way that the direction that I chose to go, was it the right way? Like there's always a way to go, and there's, so for me, I applied for film school twice when I was 21. And I was applying at that time in Melbourne. There was only one film school that was worth going to, and it was the VCA film and television, and all they did was make films.
Yep.
You just make 3 films a year, and they teach you how to make films. It's not, you don't have to write essays. It's just you do that. So it was the best. And this was before RMIT and Swinburne, all the other film courses, Deakin. They've all now there's dime a dozen. But back then, when I was trying to get my start, that was it. So I applied, got all the way through to the final interview, but they never picked me. And I think it's because, they're not here to defend themselves, but I would say it was because they were after a particular kind of director. And at that time in Australia, you had to be a very art house director the only way you could make money was selling your film to Europe.
Yeah.
And so I was pitching commercial ideas, ambitious ideas, and they were just like
more American.
I was more American. And so they didn't like that. And so I'd always have the skills to get right up to the interview, but they'd never let me in. So then after the second time, and the guy walked me, and you had to pitch a film. And so I pitched this film that was based on a true story, and it was a real father-daughter kind of redemption story.
Yep.
And one of the guys who was on the panel, as he was walking me the elevator, he said, Ben, look, you got to be edgy. You've got to be different. That idea you pitched, it's too safe. He said what you should have pitched was the father rapes the daughter and falls in love with her, and the audience is fraught watching this story of like what will happen next. And and I'm sort of sitting there aghast going, did you just say rape to me in a conversation? And did you just say, and I'm like going, that is deplorable, that is evil, that is horrible. But for him, it was like, no, it's edgy because no one's done it yet. Like no one's shown a film like so.
There's
therefore,
a reason for that.
And so I was sitting there, and I remember going down the elevator, going, "That's it. If they're not going to let me make films, screw them. I'm going to start my own film production company." And so naively, I went to my parents. I bought a camera, bought a computer, taught myself how to film, make, edit, and da-da-da. I was in debt to my parents now for 20 grand. So then I started a business where I said yes to everything. I said yes to filming births, deaths, marriages, birthday parties, events, anything I could do. And in the meantime, I was learning. I was like going, because I was thinking that I was going to be a film company.
Yeah.
But I had no idea what a film company was. I had no idea how to do it. I was like 21, naive and stupid.
Yeah.
So I started doing that, and then I said yes to everything. And then eventually, kind of 5 years later, I went, I have no idea. I've now got a business and I'm making money, but I have no idea how to get to my career.
Yeah.
And so then I went through a whole lot of other hurdles. I went to afters and did a postgrad. I later did a master's. That led me down the path of producing a film. I kind of joined this film. I eventually became a producer. I produced that film. Because I came on late to that film, I was never in the room where it happens, to quote Hamilton. I was never in the room where it happens. So then I funded my own film. So another guy brought me a script and he wanted some support. So I cashed up. I gave him the profits of the business and tried to do that. And so I was always trying to go, how do I become an independent filmmaker? And I was trying to make that leap, but I was essentially a video production company.
Yeah.
And so I've been wrestling with that and transitioning, and the idea, and I've made some leaps and I've had some opportunities and that sort of stuff. I haven't quite cracked it yet, but I feel like I'm getting closer. And I think in the next I've got the next 5 or 10 years to actually determine whether I will. Otherwise, it's going to be, all right, what's the legacy now of my video production business? But essentially that was kind of what drove me. And I still haven't figured it out. And the problem is the goalposts keep changing. Just when you think, oh, I'll do it the traditional way. So I've funded myself to go over to film markets to try and pitch and all that sort of thing. And I've tried to do things. Now I'm kind of going, you know what, I'm just going to use the things that I have to just make an independent film and hope that I can land something that people see as good, and then that will give me the pathway to then do it again with finance or investors or whatever. So
you never know who's watching.
Yeah, well, I've constantly tried to develop the business models, learn the skills, learn the market, and what I'm doing now is actually something that I've been humbled by, in a sense that I was like, I always had to do it the traditional way. Yeah. Now I'm looking at doing a YouTube channel purely just to learn how to gain audiences. I'm interested in this podcasting studio because it's how do we find audiences? What about this show? How do you get audiences? How do you build audiences? How do you find audiences? Then how do you leverage that audience? How do you et cetera, et cetera. And so that's kind of the next 5 to 10 years for
Give you
me.
the short rundown.
Yeah.
I put the video out there and then I beg, share this with your friends.
Yeah.
If you think they'll get value out of my content, please. No, I'm kidding. There's not as much of a strategy. We're just still toying with things and figuring out how it works. So, you know, if you'll want to be a part of it, then obviously happy to have your wisdom and experience. Yeah, cool, man.
So that's the hope, and that's the idea is that, I mean, I say to people, I want to be fiercely independent. By that I mean, if you go to a studio, you got to kind of make what they want to make, or you got to do what they want to do. And there's lots of stories of people who've done some independent films, met some success, have then been attracted by the Hollywood system, and then have gone, that was horrible. They treat you horribly. So I don't want to do that, but that doesn't mean the path is easy, because when you go to a studio, they've got their audience, they've got the distribution platforms, it's all set up for you. Whereas I'm starting from ground zero. I have to build audience, find audience, champion audience, and all that sort of stuff. And so, you know, and you never know what works. Like there is sometimes for it's about zeitgeist. It's about, I mean, I don't know if my Nephilim action, my action supernatural thriller is going to play well. It may not. Like it might be, you know, because it's based on a biblical thing. Maybe Christians won't like it because it's action and thriller, because the conservative Christians might reject it. The non-Christians might go, well, it's Christian, so why would they? I don't know. I mean, and it's not that it's going to be overtly Christian. It's more just you never know what's going to play with people.
Of course.
What's interesting, what's not. You just got to try. And then once you work out, you move forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd watch it.
Yeah.
There you go. Found it.
Great. Audience.
I'm your audience.
One.
Yep.
I've sold one
I
ticket.
can get my family to watch it too, so there's a few more.
Good.
But,
all right. Awesome. And my
maybe
mum will
a couple
watch it.
friends.
So
Yeah,
as long as there's no swearing, my mum
half
will
of
watch
my
it.
views are my mum. I'm pretty sure. I hope so. She'll text me after she sees these and be like, no, I've only ever watched everything once.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, cool. So you've obviously said that you're trying to make the leap across. Is that something that's constantly running through your mind, or are you sort of sitting in the business, happy to get the business growing?
Yeah.
First?
No, great. Look, I've changed a lot over the years. I've also had challenges over the years, and I've learned a lot. So I feel like I'm ready to start. After 20 years, I feel like I've got all the bits in the puzzle that I need. However, I guess to answer that question is, what's difficult is there hasn't been any case studies of videographers who've then become filmmakers. So there's always a lot of, you're always looking for the business model, right? So you're looking for this is how to do it. You write a film, you write a screenplay, you go try and get it bought by a studio you get a producer on board, you go then find the money, you get some investors, you then make the film, you put into festivals, or you get it broadcast or whatever.
Yeah.
And then that's your door into the next thing. But, you know, there's always these other stories of people who've done things differently. So, I mean, the Raka Raka brothers is a great example of, we've never seen, you know, we haven't had people pivot from a YouTube channel into a feature film. So and I believe that that's the first of many. You know, we have seen Mr. Beast go from his YouTube channel to now he's got an Amazon show. And there'd be a strategy for that. There'd be a reason for that. That'd expose him to audiences that he hasn't yet reached, even though his audience base is huge already.
Yep.
But I think that's the thing that I'm trying to work out is because I want to do a certain kind of film in a certain kind of way. Like, I am very fascinated about this idea of independent filmmaking, and there's a lot of kind of costs that go into filmmaking, and I think there's a lot of innovation that can happen.
Yeah.
And again, inspired a little bit by some of the books that I've been reading, and you know, there's this idea that to make a film you need like 100 people on set. You need all, and then you get into unions, you get into all these kind of things, and there's the jokes that get made of there's the guy that holds the umbrella, and he's a part of the umbrella union, and only he can hold the umbrella over the actor, and no one else can, and so you know the makeup artist can't do it because he or she can only do this, and you know, if there's a box that needs to be moved, only the grip or the gaffer can move it, and no one else can. So I'd love to see a lot more innovation in that. I'd love to see, I think there is an opportunity to kind of build your own audiences and your own revenue streams, and it doesn't need to be in the billions and millions of dollars. All I have to do is make a return on investment for myself or my investors, and then leverage that into the next film and build from that. And there's some great case studies of people who've done that in the independent space. So I'm sort of trying to navigate that with the stuff that I want to do. And that's the part of the reason I've got a video production company is essentially, and the reason why we've got this amazing space in Port Melbourne was kind of to try and build an area where we could do that. We could explore, we could use our profits from the video production area and make films that we care about, that we think is going to create hope and you know, and enjoyment for people and challenge people and that sort of thing.
100%.
So yeah.
Awesome. So we're sort of moving towards the end. I like to do a couple of quick fire questions to finish up.
Quick fire for me. We'll see. All right. I'll hold to that. Yeah. Good.
No thinking about it.
Once upon a time.
Well, I'm just trying to theme it, I guess. Greatest filmmaker of all time.
Oh, that's so hard to answer. But I'm going to say...
he didn't say himself, so that's a win.
Yeah, I'm going to say Steven Spielberg.
Yep.
Why not?
Why?
Oh, because, I mean, his films are just great. And he's had a long legacy of film. I mean, you know, Hitchcock's also... What I love about Hitchcock is he made some of his best films later in his career.
Yep.
That he collaborated... Like, there's the unknown story of his wife who edited a lot of his films. So I like Hitchcock in terms of that kind of component. I love Ang Lee because he's versatile. Like he's done everything from drama, comedy, you know, rom-com, action, thriller. But no, Spielberg is your commercial favorite. Yeah, right? Everyone's seen one of his kids and everyone's seen one of his films that has gone, you know. Yeah.
Top 3 films.
Yeah, I thought you'd ask me this question. All right, so this is tough. All right. They're going to be a bit random. Well, first one is Aliens, so the sequel to Alien. And the reason is...
He's picked a sequel.
Yeah, so I grew up on Walt Disney and very conservative films.
Right.
So I grew up on a lot of... So my parents wouldn't let me see anything that was... You know, when all the other kids were watching Terminator and Alien and all that sort of stuff, I was never allowed to.
For you before.
Yeah. Good. So I was a good little boy. On Sunday, we'd watch the Walt Disney special or whatever, and so it'd always be very safe PG or G-rated films. So anyway, one year at Christmas, the Aliens had come out, and I sat on a couch and literally watched that film on repeat. And that was one of the beginning moments where that was a genesis moment for me of that's what I want to do. I want to make films like that just make that. It's such a great film. Like it's incredible. I do say Princess Bride is a classic. I love Princess Bride.
Excellent film.
And I'm going to go something a bit modern. I love the Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
That's a great.
But you know, but I mean, there's all right. But like, let me just humor me. You know, I'll roll out. I mean, I love Star Wars. I love. I think Back to the Future is one of the perfect. Like the original Back to the Future is pretty much the perfect film.
Yep.
And I'd say Terminator. Like those are obviously the go-tos.
Yep.
But the other 3 that I mentioned are kind of, they sort of give a bit of a range of the sorts of films that I like.
Yeah, nice. Princess Bride, why?
I love the little boy in me that goes, you know, like true love, that, you know, there's swashbuckling, there's, you know, it's sort of this kind of, this good defeats bad.
Yeah,
it's kind of it's sort of a fantasy. And
did you guys see it if I could in?
No, I saw it on I think beta tape.
Yep.
The family decided to do like a movie night, invite a whole lot of other people over because they'd heard of this film called The Princess Bride, and we watched it. Yeah.
Well, I meant when it was in Melbourne in. It was in concert.
Oh,
so they played
that
all the
would be
music
great.
live.
Yes,
and
that's another great way of
experiencing. I had the road to
experiencing.
myself, and it was just beautiful.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Well, okay, so I mean, my church used to hire films. So there was a film called. So they used to have a 16mm projector. So I remember as like a 7 or 8 year old watching a film called The Mission, which is young Robert De Niro and Jeremy Irons.
Okay.
About them going to a South American village to like a Catholic kind of thing. And so that's part of the reason why the church showed, not that it was a Catholic church, but it sort of had some faith components.
Yeah.
And I remember watching this film. I didn't understand it, but I remember watching it in a church, like a cinema. We turned the church into a cinema on 16mm film
Yeah.
that they had managed to hire from someone.
Yep.
And that was also the beginning of that's what I want to do.
Yeah. 100%.
And it's incredible. I mean, it's a very powerful film.
Mm.
And it's a sad film because it doesn't end well for the Indigenous people.
Spoiler alert.
But yeah, it doesn't end well. That's unfortunately, it doesn't always end well for Indigenous people.
No.
It tends to go badly for them. And in this particular case in South America, it did when the Spanish Catholic people came in and just wiped them out.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway.
So
on happier things.
What was the other film? It was, hang on, the last film. It was
The Secret Life of...
Yes. Why that film?
Oh, I just love, I just love the kind of adventure. I love this character who is just forced into areas that he doesn't know, and it takes him to places. And the poignant kind of thing of this photographer who leaves this film as a gift to him in this wallet that then he throws out, that he goes all the way around the world to find it. There's just the purity of that. And Ben Stiller, it's a non-Ben Stiller movie in a way.
It's not a very Ben Stiller movie.
And I like that. And it was sort of, I think, his directorial debut, if I remember rightly. And I like it. It's just kind of, you just go, that's kind of cool. I
love that.
Him on a skateboard going, the skateboard going down with it's just kind of joyful.
Yeah.
It's just a happy film. You just really enjoy it. Like the relationship that he has with the airplane guy, or whatever or the travel agent guy, or whatever. It's just, it's kind of cool.
Just wholesome.
Yeah, it's wholesome.
And it's underlying just a positive. I love that scene. Are you going to take the shot? Sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's another level to it. And it's just, good film.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we've covered a lot of ground. We've spoken about movies, about your dreams, about, all that sort of stuff. It's been a really solid, hour and a half, hour and 20? Kieran,
gosh, I apologise to everybody.
Hour and 20? Hour and 6. Oh, jeez. I didn't mean to.
Barely scratch the surface.
Yeah, far out. Oh, we're going to need to do another one. Thank you so much for lending me the use of your studio. It's a great spot. I really love coming in here and just being so welcomed by the team, and everything that you do here is really, really good. And I love working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for jumping on the podcast. Appreciate you. And how are people best to connect with you?
Yeah, look, I have a website, indimax.com.au. I've had the same phone number, and I've got a pretty crazy name, Ben Whimpey. So I'm pretty easy to find. You Google me, you'll find me.
Yeah.
I think I've got an Instagram. I don't necessarily do a lot with it. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn seems to be the thing that I'm working with a lot now. Yeah, I'm doing a lot of stuff on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
And but I'm pretty easy to find.
Great.
Yeah. If the telemarketers keep hounding me because I've had the same phone number for 20 years.
Yeah. Once I get it, it's just on that list forever.
Yeah.
It's tough because I don't want to give up my phone number either. It's got my name in it, so can't give that up. Thank you very much for this. Appreciate you, and I think we'll call it there.
Hopefully people enjoyed it.
Sweet. Thanks, guys.